Thank you to the Kentucky Bourbon Trailers. You know, there are a lot of things that make Kentucky special: our people, our values, our faith, and our farms. But few traditions capture the spirit of the Commonwealth quite like our state song. So thank you for that, Kentucky Bourbon Trailers. I spent a lot of time traveling the state, the Commonwealth, visiting farms, livestock markets, county fairs, and small businesses. And no matter where I go, I hear the same thing from Kentuckians. People want common sense. They want leaders who understand that the government ought to work for the people, not the other way around. They want leaders who stand up for Kentucky values to protect the unborn, to protect our right to bear arms, to protect our families, and fight for the folks who get up early, work hard, and ask for nothing in return except a fair shot. That's exactly why I am proud to be here today. As your Kentucky Commissioner of Agriculture, I've had the opportunity to work closely with Attorney General Russell Coleman. I know that may sound odd, but let me tell you, when Kentucky farmers, American ranchers, and rural communities have needed someone in their corner, Russell Coleman has shown up. He has been the best Attorney General for agriculture Kentucky has ever had. When outside interests and regulators threaten to make it hard and more expensive for farmers to access tools they need to feed America, Russell stood shoulder to shoulder with the Kentucky agriculture community and fought for those common sense policies. When the Biden-Harris administration tried to saddle our farmers with costly regulation, more red tape through the H-2A program, Russell stepped up and fought back. He understands that every new mandate, every unnecessary regulation places another burden on the men and women working long, hard days to produce our food, fiber, and fuel. And he didn't just stand up for Kentucky farmers. He led attorney generals across the country in pushing back against federal overreach to defend the people who put food on our tables every single day. And most importantly, Russell understands that a strong agriculture industry depends on strong communities, safe neighborhoods, and secure families. It requires secure borders. It requires protecting children from predators and deadly drugs. It requires defending the values that make Kentucky the greatest place in America to raise a family. Russell has spent a career doing exactly that. He's a fighter, a staunch conservative, and most importantly, he delivers results. That's why I'm honored to support Russell. And that's why President Trump has repeatedly called on Russell's expertise to deliver his priorities. He knows Kentucky has a strong, proven leader and winner in Russell. Now, we know campaign isn't built by one person alone. It's built by friends, supporters, and leaders who believe in the mission and are ready to fight for Kentucky's future. And there are a lot of people in this room here today who are ready to make that happen. To get started, please welcome the Commonwealth's attorney for Oldham, Henry, and Tribble counties, Ms. Courtney Baxter.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is such an honor for me to be able to say a few words in support of my friend, the Attorney General Russell Coleman. For more than a decade, Barry and I have been proud to call him our friend, our neighbor, and our colleague. So what I'm saying here today, I say from real experience. In all my years in public service, the Attorney General Russell Coleman is the strongest partner local prosecutors like me have ever had. My colleague, Barry Baxter, Rob Sanders, they can attest to that. It really matters. We are boots on the ground, and to have the support of the Attorney General like we have is invaluable. Russell's the same person in public that he is in private. He's steady, he's thoughtful, he's principled, and he truly cares about the Commonwealth and the people that he serves. I see that every day, and I've seen that over the past decade of knowing him. He's beginning the campaign for his second term as Attorney General here in Oldham County, where he chose to plant his roots with his family, Ashley, Clay, Kruby or Cameron, and Annie. And that feels right. He spent time here not only with his family, but as an assistant prosecutor working in my office, where he got to learn about our community. He prosecuted cases. He worked with victims. He found out what our community was all about. So it's truly fitting that this campaign starts here. He did all this while being a devoted father and husband. Russell is a man of character and integrity, and I can tell you firsthand what he says, he does. He does what he says, he means what He means it. He is the best leader for Kentucky in this role, and I'm absolutely honored to support him in it. So let's clap for our Attorney General.
I think it's pretty significant that she was talking about starting in Oldham County, and Russell may end up getting me after this for saying this, but there's a reason why Russell was elected as Attorney General, and what I would say kind of easy because he's such a great man, but he also has 7 hometowns. He is a product of this state. He comes from every corner of the Commonwealth. And Courtney, thank you. Over the last several years, General Coleman has made protecting children and seeking justice for victims a cornerstone of his service to the Commonwealth. The story you're about to hear is a powerful reminder of why this work matters. So please join me in welcoming the family of Christian Gwynn.
This is my husband, Nevada, and my daughter, Nevada. Yes, same exact. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista. I am honored to be here today to say a few words about someone I am proud to call my friend, Russell Coleman. Now I can stand here and tell you about all his accomplishments, his career, and the titles he has held. Those things matter, but what matters most to me is who he is. Who he is when the cameras are gone, when the crowds have gone home, and when a hurting family needs someone to listen. As a mother whose family has been forever impacted by gun violence, I know what it feels like to walk through some of life's darkest moments. In these moments, you learn very quickly who shows up and who doesn't. Russell showed up. The little side note, my daughter had got shot. Russell came to the hospital to console my husband. This is after we had lost my son to gun violence in 2019. My daughter was shot 16 months later and wounded in the park over 250 rounds. My daughter was hit and lost her friend to that incident. He took a bullet to the head. I'm gonna go back on course, I'm sorry. He doesn't just talk about serving people, he does it. He listens, he cares, and he understands that behind every case, every statistic, and every headline is a real family trying to find hope, healing, and justice. You know where I come from. He pays attention to our characters, and we watch how people treat others when there's nothing to gain. We watch who stays at the table when the conversation gets hard. We watch who answers the phone when people are hurting. And Russell has always been that kind of person. I had the privilege of seeing his heart for victims, survivors, and community across Kentucky. He understands the public safety isn't just about laws and policies. It's about making sure our children can grow up in a safer neighborhood. Our families can live without fear, and victims know they are not forgotten. Now, thank you. Now, I may be a little biased because I know him personally, but I believe in leadership, and above more than a title, it's about trust. It's about integrity, and it's about having the courage to do the work even when nobody's watching. Russell has earned that trust. So today I'm proud to stand with him. I'm proud to support him. And I'm proud to encourage each of you to continue to support a man who has dedicated his life serving the people of Kentucky. Russell, thank you for your friendship, your compassion, and your commitment to making a difference. We appreciate you, we believe in you, and we are grateful for his service. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen family, for sharing your story and reminding us that public safety isn't just a talking point. There are real people and real families at the heart of the work that Russell is doing. He understands that backing the blue isn't just a slogan. It's a commitment to the men and women who put the badge on every single day and stand between order and chaos. Please join me in welcoming a respected law enforcement leader in the state of Kentucky, a dedicated public servant, Lyon County Sheriff Brent White.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I have the honor of serving as a sheriff of Lyon County. If you ever get a chance to come down to Western Kentucky, it's just a few clicks down the West Kentucky Parkway, but it's an honor to be here today. In the Commonwealth, we have an old saying, no sheriff stands alone. And no matter the day, no matter the hour, when a sheriff puts out a call, he or she gets an answer. And I've had the privilege of knowing Russell Coleman for the last 9 years. And I'll tell you, whenever we need him, Russell is there. When Lyon County had multiple overdose deaths in a 5-day period, Russell Coleman was there to help. When we saw violent crime creep closer to our homes and neighborhoods, Russell Coleman was there. When law enforcement felt beaten down by the defund the police movement, Russell Coleman was there. He's been there as an FBI special agent. He's been there as the United States Attorney, and now as Kentucky's Attorney General. I'm just one sheriff from a small Western Kentucky county, but you can ask any of my law enforcement brethren in this room or across the Commonwealth, and they'll echo the same. Kentucky law enforcement has no better friend than Attorney General Russell Coleman. He has the experience, the integrity, the grit to support us as we protect Kentucky families. And I'm proud to serve alongside General Coleman, and I'm proud to introduce him today. We need him to stay in this fight to keep our families safe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 52nd Attorney General of Kentucky, the Honorable Russell Coleman.
It is a humbling, and I emphasize humbling, experience to be amongst so many friends standing here today. And I'm going to start with where I will finish in just a few moments. And I've learned if you're standing in front of the food or the music, you better go quick. And we've got a great bluegrass band that's going to be playing here in just a minute. It's humbling to be in front of so many friends today. I'm so grateful to my friends Daniel Cameron, Courtney Baxter, Sheriff Brent White, Krista and Nevada Gwen, and Matt Lorimer and those incredible Kentucky bluegrass trailers that you heard a moment ago. And for you, for your time and your support. You all have families, you all have jobs, and you're here with us for a few moments. And what about the best ag commissioner in the country? Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Schell. If you ever doubt that, look at his social media and his time at the White House. I tell you what, the President and the Secretary of Agriculture, big fans just like Kentuckians are of this good man. I was in the 2nd grade when I knew I wanted to spend my life in law enforcement. It was more than a goal, more than a career aspiration. It truly was a calling for me. I was blessed to live that dream as an FBI special agent until injury ended my career in law enforcement earlier than I intended. Pastor, we make plans and God laughs sometimes. But through God's healing and an opportunity only, or a set of opportunities, if you will, only found in a country in which we live, a commonwealth in which we live. I was blessed with new opportunities to serve. As a state prosecutor, thank you, Mrs. Baxter, as President Trump's first-term United States Attorney here in Louisville, and for the last 3 years as your Attorney General. It's been the honor of my lifetime to protect the families of this Commonwealth, to support the fine men and women of Kentucky law enforcement, and to stand strong for Kentucky against this utter nonsense that we've seen of the extreme left. Now, it may surprise you that Kentucky has never had a two-term Republican Attorney General. With your help, I hope to change that. So today, I'm announcing our re-election campaign to continue serving the Commonwealth that I love as your Attorney General. We, and I emphasize we, have accomplished a lot for Kentucky in 3 short years. We've taken on violent crime, we've taken on deadly drugs, we've launched cutting-edge programs to use technology for good to protect our kids. We've prosecuted fraud, and we fought hard to promote affordable and reliable energy. But that job is not done. That darkness is still out there. The threats of this fallen world, they loom large. And with this, the threats aren't just at the door. They're in our homes, they're in our living rooms, and they're certainly in our kids' rooms. They're in our own houses. I'm determined to continue this fight for everyone in this room and for generations to come. So as we take the first step of this campaign, I want to look back briefly at our accomplishments from these last 3 years, and I want to share the work that's to come. Since we started this journey, my top priority has been crystal clear. As Attorney General, this administration will always back the blue. The brown gentleman as well, and the gray, although we're not joined by any of our colleagues from the state police. When the Biden administration and the woke left demonized these fine public servants and law enforcement, we stood strong for them. These courageous men and women, as you know, because some of you send them to work. They're your fathers, they're your mothers, they're an essential part of your family. You send them to work, worried, prayerful, oftentimes on their knees, as to whether they will return at the end of their shift. That's the nature of law enforcement. They deserve our gratitude and they deserve our support. To see how we've delivered, and support must manifest itself more than words from a podium. And so to give you a powerful example of that, how we have delivered on that promise, I take you just down the road to our Bluegrass region. Look no further than the Scott County, Kentucky Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Nettles, unfortunately, is traveling, not able to be here, but last year began and it ended, began with tragedy and ended with triumph in Scott County. Early last year, as celebratory as this is, early last year I sat in a courtroom that was as heavy as any environment I've ever experienced. It felt like cinder blocks on our shoulders because we were prosecuting the man who killed young Deputy Caleb Connolly along the side of I-75. That day, justice was done. That day, we secured a life sentence without possibility of parole, plus 70 years for his cold-blooded crime. Yeah. And I accept that kind of applause on behalf of the team that achieved justice, on behalf of his incredible, steadfast family. I'm proud of that outcome that brought justice and some degree of closure to the Connolly family, but it won't bring Deputy Connolly back. That's why That's why we stood up the body armor grant program, so fewer officers make that sacrifice. 4 years ago, I won't wear you out with math. Many of you know I went to law school to stay away from math, but these statistics are important. 4 years ago, 1 in 5 Kentucky officers, 1 in 5 didn't have body armor, or the body armor they wore was expired. That's 20% of our officers, our deputies, our troopers, who weren't protected when they were out there protecting us. Now, we're rushing resources to local agencies to close that gap. We've delivered more than 20,000 body armor vests, plus helmets, carriers, and shields. We have closed that gap to 1%, not 20%. So a lot of work still to do, though. We're prioritizing school resource officers, making sure that they're the next recipients of shields and body armor as they protect our kids. But from the macro to the micro, I want to take you to the best moment that I've had in this job over the last 3 years. It was a single text. It was a text from Sheriff Jeremy Nettles from Scott County with a photo of just one of those shields that he had received from our program. It had a brief, there's Sheriff Nettles telling me I'm getting it wrong. It had a 2-line sentence. The sentence said, "Thank you. This shield saved the lives of 2 of my deputies." That shield was used in a barricade situation in a trailer in Scott County with a very violent offender with mental health issues. That shield took a few rounds and saved the life of 2 deputies, and I would argue ultimately saved the life of that individual who was suffering from mental health challenges. Those deputies went home that day because of a program in a government agency. Those deputies went home that day because the shield stood between them and a bullet. Without it, one of them wouldn't have had a chance to meet his newborn daughter a couple weeks later. That child, that beautiful little girl has a daughter, and Kentucky still has 2 of its finest law enforcement officers. Getting that text, as I said, one of the best days I've had on that job. I'll tell you, our office will always stand with law enforcement, not only in air-conditioned venues like this, but on their hardest days. We'll keep delivering protective equipment, prioritizing getting that, as I said, to school resource officers. We're standing up a first-of-its-kind peer mental health program to help officers' mental health on good days and on bad, and we'll continue fighting. We will not stop swinging for justice for our fallen heroes, whether that is prosecuting the killer, the murder that took Bardstown officer Jason Ellis from us, or finally delivering the death penalty for the murder of Powell County Sheriff Steve Bennett and Powell County Deputy Arthur Briscoe, murdered in 1992. 1992. Of course, when I talk about violent crime, it doesn't just affect the men and women we send out there to mitigate it. It's an urgent threat to every one of our families. When I first ran for this office, violence was on the rise, especially right here in the Louisville area. In our Commonwealth's largest city, kids, Nevada, Krista, kids were sleeping in their bathtubs or under their beds. When folks in some of our neighborhoods sat in their living room, they sit in a fashion that is not in front of a window because, of course, that's the most dangerous place in our house. We're not talking about another country. We're not talking about another state. We're talking about fellow Kentuckians right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is unacceptable to the men and women who serve with me. So we refuse to accept the status quo. This office established a first-of-its-kind violent crime reduction team of prosecutors from the Attorney General's office, of an investigator from the Attorney General's office, with more resources than any AG's office has ever dedicated to violent crime mitigation in Louisville. Yes. They're working hard. And this is where partnership matters, which is why I emphasize we so hard on the front end. We're partnering with our Commonwealth's attorney in Louisville, Jarena Weathers. We're partnering with LMPD. We're partnering with Strange Bedfellows in Louisville to focus on the mission. We are laser focused in taking those trigger pullers off the street. Repeat, thank you, Kim. So what does that mean? It means repeat offenders are facing longer sentences. It means felons with guns aren't getting off as easier. It means those who threaten our largest city are receiving serious consequences. And look, we're not there yet. We acknowledge that. There are miles to go, but we are finally making progress. But let me warn you, as we saw in New York in the last few hours, liberal jurisdictions across the country, they're choosing to go another direction. They're choosing, oftentimes, bought and paid for prosecutors who turn these violent offenders loose before the officers are even home from their paperwork. But in Kentucky, as your Attorney General, I tell you this, not on my watch. Now, taking on violent crime in Louisville, it doesn't mean we're ignoring our other 119 counties, because the violence that happens in Louisville, it doesn't stay in Louisville, it bleeds to surrounding counties. Sheriff from Bullitt and our friends across the Commonwealth know this. They're nodding with me every corner of our Commonwealth. So we've deployed experienced, talented prosecutors to the far west and far eastern counties of this Commonwealth with the mission not riding in on some white horse, the mission of supporting our local partners and going after the worst of the worst. I went to the White House last month to meet with Vice President Vance and his new fraud team. They're prepared to surge resources to states just like ours to support local partners going after fraud, going after human trafficking and violent crime. I will tell you, working with the Trump administration, with federal partners in Kentucky, and with our county and Commonwealth's attorneys, Rob, our workhorses of the criminal justice system, Courtney, we have never been in a better position to protect your family. In this digital age, the threats don't just come from out there on the street, as you know, in the dead of night. If I'm doing my job, not just at an event like this, if I'm doing my job in this role, I stand at a podium and never miss the opportunity to pull this out and say that this is the most dangerous item in your home today. It's a window. It's a window into your home for predators, traffickers, and listen here, for the largest corporations on the planet to exploit your kids to monetize. Our kids, our teens, well, their brains haven't even fully developed yet. Sorry, son. They don't stand a chance against the most sophisticated tech developers money can buy. A metaphor once described to me an analogy: on one side of the seesaw, you have your son or daughter at 14 or 15. On the other side, you have the most talented mental health professionals and medical professionals and marketing team and tech experts that money can buy. Our kids don't have a chance comparatively. They need our help. So that's why your Attorney General's office is dragging platforms like Meta, aka Facebook previously, TikTok, and Roblox to court. They must answer for addicting our kids, for exposing them to graphic content. They no longer get to turn a blind eye to the predators that use their platforms like a playground. Every parent knows this. We know this. We know what the problem is, but we feel powerless on how to solve it. No longer, my friends. I am so proud that Kentucky is leading this fight. We will force real change on these platforms that'll end the harm, end the abuse, and let our kids just enjoy a safe childhood and enjoy kids being kids. Now, even smaller than this phone is the deadly threat of a single pill. We live in a moment when as little as one pill can and is killing our kids, destroying families, leaving empty seats at kitchen tables. I won't ask you to do this exercise, but if you look to your left and your right, there is no family, whether you wear a badge or not. There is no that part of the city anymore or that county. There is no one in this room who hasn't been impacted in some way to the drug epidemic. And I am sad to say that President Biden and Washington Democrats left our southwest border wide open. They allowed drugs to flow in and turned Kentucky into a border state. I traveled to Yuma sector on the southwest border some months ago and saw the difference that real leadership can make. President Trump secured the border and cut off many of the drug cartels' avenues to the streets of this Commonwealth. President Trump has been an outstanding partner to Kentucky. Let me give you a pretty powerful example. I led a coalition to close a shipping loophole that was allowing fentanyl, yes, fentanyl to flood into Kentucky from overseas virtually unchecked. We wrote to President Biden asking for relief, and crickets. President Trump slammed that loophole shut within 72 hours of receiving our request. And as I look out to the crowd and see great friends from Northern Kentucky law enforcement, this is some fantastic leadership I'm so proud of from our friends partnering with us up north. When we heard about a new designer drug from our partners in the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force, designer Xanax, responsible for almost 50 dead Kentuckians, at least 50. We worked with the Trump administration hand in hand for an emergency order to ban that drug nationwide. It is now permanently banned nationwide, and prosecutors have the tools to go after those that use that to kill our kids. And even as we continue cutting off the supply, I believe very strongly in enforcement. We're also investing critically into prevention, into treatment and recovery. Early this year, Director Evans, it's good to see you here, leader of our Opioid Abatement Commission. Earlier this year, that commission awarded record grants into worthy programs across this Commonwealth, grants that are investing in hope and will save lives. I'm especially proud of our first ever statewide youth campaign called Better Without It. It's reaching out to Kentucky's kids, our young people, meeting them where they are on social media, using social media influencers for good. We're delivering a positive message from people that kids will actually listen to, as opposed to me beating the podium. Listening to influencers like Coach Mark Pope and incredible athletes from the University of Louisville, University of Kentucky, Western, and that list will grow and grow. I'm so proud of this Better Without It effort. Our grandparents taught us, so many of us, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I'll do whatever it takes to keep Kentucky's kids from falling into the grasp of addiction, even partnering with social media influencers, whatever it takes. Friends, this is just a small sample of how far we've come over the last 3 years in this first term. It also shows how much farther we have to go to protect your family, to build a stronger Kentucky for the future. I'm under no illusions. I know this will be a tough campaign. Every one of them is. Anyone who has stepped out and put their name on the ballot knows this, especially with a state as large as this Commonwealth. And I will say, Washington Democrats have seen how we've put Kentucky at the tip of the spear on so many of the biggest fights, as I've just described. Also, from protecting women's sports to fighting this nonsensical green agenda. I'm not afraid of a tough campaign because this Commonwealth is worth fighting for. Devin, that beautiful little girl in the back is worth fighting for, my friend. Thanks to the generosity of so many Kentuckians, so many of you in this room, we start this campaign, though, from a position of strength. We have well over $500,000 cash on hand. Now, that is more than any incumbent attorney general has ever had at the beginning of their reelection effort. I go back to that word because it is a through line for me. I am humbled by the support we've already received, and I look forward to earning the trust, the confidence of Kentuckians from every corner of this Commonwealth. Thank you, Kim. So speaking of indispensable support, there is no one I'd rather have standing by my side, figuratively or literally right now, than my talented, beautiful wife, Ashley. And it's her... Now, it's her love, and let me emphasize, let's be honest, it's her patience with me that will make all of this that we're able to do possible. There is such division of labor in our family. I'm only able to serve because how she serves in many ways unseen, and I'm so grateful for her. All right, friends, the music is waiting, but let me just remind you, and let's get fired up for this, because next week we'll celebrate the 250th birthday of our republic. From the heroes of Lexington and Concord to the patriots of Gettysburg to the greatest generation who stormed the beaches of Normandy, like your grandfather Sim. Americans have fought and bled for our nation and the fundamental ideas of freedom and equality, and yes, Commissioner, for the opportunity to have a fair shake, to raise a family, to flourish. The United States is the greatest country the world has ever known, a beacon of hope and a steadfast force for good. America 250 is, though, a time for reflection, to pause between the fireworks and more fireworks and the grill. It's a time for reflection and a time for forward-looking leadership. How do we carry forward our founders' vision another 250 years? How do we defend against the threats, those threats against our shining city on a hill? Kentucky has the answer, I'll tell you that. Kentucky's history and our greatness, America's history and our greatness, run through you, run through our Commonwealth. Kentucky farmers, Commissioner, feed the country. Our coal miners have powered its prosperity. We have it all, from cars and trucks to barges plying the Ohio River to those beautiful brown planes landing just near here, from engineers and researchers to soldiers to aluminum workers in Logan County, like my dad. Kentucky is where opportunity lives and our bright future will be found. It's where young men and women are still raising their hands to serve, Lieutenant, to serve in our military, to serve in law enforcement, some in our General Assembly even. It's where moms and dads are choosing to raise their kids. Yes, there is a darkness that remains in this world. But my hope comes from a faith in Jesus Christ and the caliber of those I'm staring at, the caliber of the people of this Commonwealth. You are an unstoppable force behind America's greatness. You put a fire in my belly to launch this campaign, a fire to protect you, your families, and the future. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for supporting this effort. May God bless you, our nation, and this great Commonwealth. With that, thank you so much for coming. If you look behind us here, there's a jumpy house, red, white, and blue appropriately. We have cotton candy. We have popcorn for our friends in the media as well, even from the Herald Leader. And we have some fantastic snow cones as well. Thank you all for coming. We're so grateful for you. Thankful. Thank you so much.